Cinderella story. Once upon a time in a small village, there lived a kind and gentle young girl named Ella. Ella had a heart full of warmth and compassion, despite the hardship she faced every day. After her mother's passing, her father had remarried, bringing a new stepmother and two stepsisters into their home. Ella's stepmother and stepsisters were not as kind as she was. They were selfish, vain, and cared only about themselves. They made Ella do all the household chores, while they lounged around the house, dressed in their finest clothes. One day, news arrived in the village that a grand royal ball was to be held at the palace. The entire village buzzed with excitement, and Ella's stepsisters were no exception. They spent weeks preparing their gowns and practicing their dance moves, but they had no intention of taking Ella with them. As the day of the ball approached, Ella couldn't help but wish she could attend. Alone in her room, she let out a sigh, and to her amazement, a shimmering light appeared before her. It was her fairy godmother, a kind and magical presence she had never met before. With a wave of her wand, the fairy godmother transformed Ella's rags into a beautiful gown, fit for a princess, and turned a pumpkin into a magnificent carriage. Ella's worn-out shoes became elegant glass slippers that sparkled in the moonlight. However, the fairy godmother warned Ella that the magic would only last until midnight. Ella promised to return by then and set off for the royal ball. As she entered the grand ballroom, all eyes turned to her. She was the most beautiful person there, capturing the heart of the prince the moment he laid eyes on her. They danced the night away, and Ella felt like she was living a dream. But as the clock struck midnight, Ella remembered her promise to her fairy godmother. She fled from the palace, leaving behind a single glass slipper. The next day, the prince, who was determined to find the mysterious girl, went from house to house, asking every maiden in the kingdom to try on the glass slipper. When he arrived at Ella's home, her stepsisters tried desperately to squeeze their feet into the slipper but failed. Then, Ella stepped forward, and as she slipped her foot into the glass slipper, it fit perfectly. The prince recognized her instantly, and their love story began anew. Ella forgave her stepsisters for their cruelty, and they too changed their ways, inspired by Ella's kindness. With Ella by his side, the prince became a wise and just ruler, and they lived happily ever after, proving that true beauty is found within, and that kindness can change even the hardest of hearts.